Welcome to the Steering Change Podcast, navigating through the commercial transportation industry in Alberta and beyond, powered by the Alberta Motor Transport Association. Here's your host, Kelsey Hipkin.
Greetings, listeners of Steering Change. They work around the clock, moving goods come rain, wind, snow, or shine. It is because of them everything from jalapenos to hats and prescriptions to peonies hit store shelves. They are the commercial driver, and there is no event that showcases the skill and professionalism of Alberta's truck drivers than the Professional Truck Driving Championship, or PTDC. This event sees drivers compete in a written exam, pre-trip inspection, and driving a course with everyday tasks they'd see on the road to see who is crowned the grand champion. Taking place May 31st in Edmonton, we are especially thrilled for our 2025 event as we will be celebrating 75 years of the PTDC, or as it was, and in some cases continues to be, fondly known as rodeo. I'm joined in studio by some guests integral to this event. We have Matt Geib, Don Achtemichuk, and then on the line we have Don MacDonald and AMTA Director and longtime planner of the PTDC, Michelle Spacil. Everyone, welcome. To start, let's do a quick get to know you. Michelle, you're a regular on the show, so we'll focus on our guests instead. Matt, we're going to start with you. You stepped into the role of PTDC Marshal last year. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
So I work with Bison Transport. I'm in our driver development department, so that's driver training. I've been with Bison for all coming up on 15 years here, and I got into the truck driving championships back in 2011. So I have quite a bit of experience both as a competitor and as various different stations throughout the course, throughout the event. I've had a chance to watch this grow and develop over the course of the years. So it's just a lot of fun. So I look forward to it every year.
Awesome. Thanks for being here today, Matt. And Don Achtemichuk, you are our co-marshal and have been involved with this event for quite some time as well. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Thank you for having me here today, Kelsey. This is a blast. I've been in trucking all my working life. You know, I've been in Alberta since 1990. I started volunteering with the AMTA around 2010. The truck driving championships, I was asked to be the role of the rodeo marshal in 2012, working with guys like Don Chapman and Bud Rice. They were kind of my mentors, and they were there for just about 2 years. Then Don Chapman retired. He was with CF, Canadian Freightways at the time. Bud Rice was an AMTA employee. He moved to Saskatchewan. So there was a big learning curve for me, but you know, the neat part was there was guys like older volunteers, Joe Kuipers, Rick Boulay, Chris Plant, Riel Durand, even from Bison. So it's been a lot of fun. So as the rodeo marshal, I've been doing it for, I think it's 11 years, you know, from when I started to when I handed it over to Matt. And it's been a lot of fun. The neat part, you know, back then was the national championships took place until 2016. And, you know, I really got to know Matt at 2014 in Estoril, Quebec. You know, we took the team, Matt was competing there as well. And it's a lot of fun. The nationals were good. You know, we miss them. Unfortunately, some of the provinces withdrew. It's a big financial commitment. And, you know, it'd be nice to have it back, but we're not sure when and if that's going to happen anytime soon.
Hopefully one day, and it's nice to hear you talk about the mentorship factor. Even from the AMTA side, you mentioned some of the names passing the torch to Matt when it comes to the marshal role. We see it with the drivers too, right? We have some younger drivers coming in, which is awesome. And then on the AMTA side, organizing, like Michelle has taught me so much about this event, and it's just running down the line. So it's super awesome to see that whole sense of mentorship when it comes to this too, which is integral to truck driving in general, right? Don MacDonald, can you tell us a bit about yourself? You will be our track master this year.
I will, for sure. My name is Don MacDonald. I'm with CCA Truck Driver Training. Been in the transportation industry my whole career as well, 30 plus years. Started as a driver, and I just want to kind of piggyback on a little bit of what Don A just said. When I was early in my trucking career, I remember reading about this event in trade magazines, and a lot of the names that Don just talked about, I remember reading about these guys competing in the trade magazines, and Unfortunately for me, my career path never led me to be able to compete in one of these events. But in 2013, I had the opportunity to start volunteering with the AMTA at the event, and it's kind of neat for it to go full circle. I read about it, always thought about it, but then I got to partake on the volunteer side. So it really truly is quite an amazing event. For drivers to showcase what they do on an everyday basis. So very, very thrilled and very happy to be a part of it every year.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. Okay, guys, let's hop into the cab and roll on with today's episode. Matt, we will start with you. Can you tell me how exactly does this event work?
Yeah. Looking at the diversity within the industry, we have a lot of different pieces of equipment that makes our industry go round. So we generally have 5 categories from something as simple as the straight truck, which is used for city pickup and delivery, all the way up through the big sleeper highway units into multiple combination vehicles like Super Bs. And participants get the opportunity to pick their vehicle, pick their poison, and run through an obstacle course. And there's also a knowledge component, so how you understand rules and regulations. And then, of course, it finishes off with an opportunity to perform a pre-trip on a set piece of equipment. Participants are scored accordingly, and then the one with the highest point is the so-called winner. Each category has a winner, and then there's a grand champion that's selected based on the difference between the first and second place score averaged over the course of the group. So that's just a little bit about how more or less works.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And just to kind of, we had, I believe, 4 events last year. And in order to qualify for a team, you have a driver in at least one of each of the 4 events. Don MacDonald, I'm going to move over to you. People see these big trucks on the road and maybe don't understand the intricacies of what it takes to navigate a commercial vehicle. Can you touch on some of the specifics of the course and how it'll be navigated?
Yeah, for sure, Kelsey. There are many synergies between everyday trucking and this driving course. The competition revolves around what a driver is expected to do every day as they do their jobs. We start off with a pre-trip. We have a vehicle that's staged. We have predetermined defects set up on that vehicle. And, we do this so that it's consistent, so that everybody is looking for the same defects. Then, each person has to do an exterior pre-trip on the vehicle and find as many of these defects as they can. Hopefully they find them all. Once they complete that, then they move into the driving portion of the competition. From there, we have a series of maneuvers that they would, complete similar to what they would do in everyday driving.
Can you focus on some of those, Don? Like what kind of maneuvers might we see?
Certainly, for sure. Some examples would be we would have them pull up next to a curb and stop at a stop sign. From there, we would take some measurements from each wheel group to see how far they are away from the curb. We would grade and score them on those. Then from there, they would have to make a right-hand turn, hopefully not taking a stop sign or some cones with them. And of course, we grade that as well. Then they would move into like what we would call an offset alley. And basically this maneuver is like making a lane change with some tight obstacles. It will be a low speed maneuver and, will be some tight parameters that they would have to get through. And again, we would monitor it and we would grade that, if the trailer had clipped the side of a cone or something of that nature. And then typically from there, then they would move into an alley dock, into a backup. Would be a backing maneuver that they would have to perform every day. We don't do anything, outrageous. It's a clear side alley dock maneuver that we would have them perform. And, we put some obstacles in the way. So it would represent real life experience. And, just to touch on, Matt had said earlier, there's different configurations and we adjust the track for different maneuvers, whether it's a straight truck or a tandem or a set of B trains. We would have different stages and different measurements for each vehicle. And then, of course, we do some other maneuvers. We have one that's called a diminishing point. Basically, the driver drives into, it's almost like a narrowing lane. You know, we have markers out, and it starts off with 6 inches on one side, goes down to 2, and the goal is for them to drive through those without hitting any of them. If they did touch one, they just move, so it's not going to do any damage. They just, you know, fold over, and then we count how many they knocked, and we would score them on that. And then from there, of course, you know, there's a few more exercises that we would have them do, but that's kind of a rundown of how it works. And it's important to note, I just want to throw in here, this is done on a closed course, so it's not like on public roadways or we're in a private area. There are rules that competitors have to follow. We take safety is paramount, you know, during this event. So we take all precautions to make sure that the competitors and that the volunteers are kept safe at all times. So truly is, you know, quite an event to pull off and watch everybody compete.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. And I'm going to shift over to you, Don A. For many years, we've held this event in conjunction with the Alberta Sheriffs Inspectors Challenge, and we are hopeful to do so again this year. Can you just chat a bit about the importance of collaborating with the sheriffs on this event?
Kelsey, we've been partnering with the sheriffs. You know, back then they were Alberta Transportation for 31 years by my count. And we run our events alongside on the same site, you know, that Don MacDonald was referring to. You know, they're running it as the Sheriffs Inspectors Challenge Championships. Their winner gets to go to the North American CVSA Inspectors Challenge. I believe this summer it's being held in Minneapolis. So it's a great event for them as it is for us. The neat part about having the sheriffs there is that they're really engaged in supporting what we do. You know, they're static events. They bring, you know, cruisers out. They bring their inspection vehicles out. Their infrared testing equipment out. You know, their equipment's bright and shiny. The kids love it. The adults love it. It's a lot of fun. The other part that's cool is they spend the day alongside us. So, you know, there's easy conversations that are being had. You know, you're not having to break down barriers. And, you know, some of the drivers are nervous talking to them. So they, you know, it just gives them the confidence as well that it's, you know, when you stop to talk to somebody that's in enforcement, it's not about, you know, they're not going to give you a ticket. They're not going to get mad. Sometimes it's just trading information. And, you know, that's the day of the event. And then after the event, you know, from past experience with the banquet, you know, they're coming, they're participating, and they're sitting alongside of us celebrating their winners as we're celebrating our winners. So it's just neat that everyone understands, you know, in the small talk and the chatter, what our challenges are in life and in the real world.
Absolutely. And just before you take over, Michelle, to touch on the banquet that you mentioned, Don, once we complete the event, this is a full day event, we all get to gather together and have an awesome dinner. And that's where we announce all the awards for the drivers. So it just really adds to the camaraderie of the day. Everyone can gather, have a great meal, and then we get to celebrate the winners. Okay, give her, Michelle.
Thanks, Kelsey. Yeah, I think building that relationship with industry, whether it is the sheriffs, the drivers, the safety people from the organizations that volunteer, this event itself really brings everybody together for one day and really builds on those relationships. So thanks so much for touching on that. I'm going to stick with you, Don. You've been involved with this event for quite some time. What is the importance of having an event like this that celebrates commercial drivers?
Great question, Michelle. You know, first it's that everyone that takes part, you know, we're here to celebrate our safety culture that we've established on Alberta's roadways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this includes the AMTA staff, the volunteers, you know, the sheriff's group, and most importantly, the drivers. Our drivers are truly the professionals, and the event gives them the recognition that they rarely get. One of the key eligibility requirements for the drivers, you know, to be able to compete is they have to have an accident-free driving record. So when they compete and, you know, by chance when they win, you know, or they take home the grand champion award, they truly are the best of the best. You know, the event for us, it's open to the public for spectators. You know, that's the good part. It gives folks from outside of our industry a chance to see what the skill levels are. I mean, Don and Matt have talked about that. and, what's required to safely operate big rigs. Yes, it's a closed track, but it still gives you an idea because there's a lot of equipment rolling around. It's a great event. I mean, for anyone that's thinking of volunteering, you do make a lot of lasting, friendships. Guys like Matt and Don, I mean, they've been friends of mine for years, and, they become future leaders of the professional truck driving championships. In some ways, I guess that means that I'm close to representing the past.
No, I think you touched on a few things there, Don, with just the opportunity to celebrate those drivers. I think to the general public, before I got into this industry, I was completely unaware of what is required of those drivers on a daily basis to ensure that the goods get to where they need to get to. And this event allows that tiny glimpse of what a professional driver has to go through every day to do so. So thank you so much for that. Matt, you've competed in this event in the past. Can you highlight what it means to participate as a driver in this event?
So everything that we do every single day. There's from the knowledge that we have to have in order to do the written test to all of the obstacles and the obstacle course that we have to complete. We do this every single day. Some companies even get so intense into it that they actually practice it. And one of the very neatest things is that when it's game time, all the practice in the world doesn't make a lick of difference. There's just something about it when you get behind the wheel, they lock you into the cab, and all of a sudden your mouth goes completely dry, and it's a fight or flight response, and you just roll the dice, and how it turns out is almost it's almost random how it happens, and that right there is a lot of fun. And to find out that you won, it's jaw-dropping and shocking, because you really don't remember anything when it's all said and done.
It's game time.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think and I think that showcases the experience that drivers do have. They just do it. It's like clockwork. They don't really have to think about it. They just are so well versed at the role that is required to drive these vehicles. It definitely says something there.
I just wanted to add right behind that there,
Yeah, for sure.
Michelle. One of the really kind of neat things, as Don A mentioned, the camaraderie. The camaraderie exists between all of the drivers that come back year after year after year. And like I said, every single one of those drivers has an individual chance at winning, and it's just one of those things where if you're on that day, you're the winner, and if you're just a little bit off, somebody's gonna beat you. And there's just something there that when you're in that moment, you have a chance to really bond and connect with people you probably won't see, just by the nature of the job. You won't see them until next year. But there's a core group of drivers that can come out every single year and compete and have fun, and everything from the day's events all the way up to the banquet, to even, sometimes the after party. Um, it's just a lot of fun, and it's a chance for people to get together and share their experiences.
Just to butt in here to Matt's point about the veteran drivers, but it's also open to drivers with no experience in the truck road, in the truck championship. So, I mean, 10 years ago, and Matt, you'll remember this young fellow from D&D, he won the tandem event, and he went with us to the nationals, and he'd never competed before. And it was just so cool that, to be able to see the joy in his face, to find out at the banquet at the provincial truck driving championships that he was the best driver that we had to put forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I also would challenge the small and medium-sized carriers to get involved. We do have a lot of teams, so the larger carriers will put teams in, and I love a good challenge. So I would throw that challenge out to the small and medium-sized carriers in the province to consider putting in a couple of their drivers, and the new and the veterans mixed will always make for a really good competition day for sure. Don MacDonald, it takes an army to run this event. Can you touch on the importance of the volunteers?
Michelle, it does take an army for sure. It's incredible the amount of work that goes into this event. And it basically starts when the event stops. Like when the event is over, a couple of days later, we have a debrief. We go over how the event went, and we start working from there. If we look at it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, there's going to be good points. There's going to be some points where we might want to change, and there might be some things that we might want to do again. So we're constantly, as you know, that's constantly on our minds. And so much goes into that people don't they kind of take for granted. Right from the venue, sponsors, food, audio, visual. We need equipment, we need trucks and trailers. That stuff's all donated. We need activities for the families. Kids tents. We need security, vendors, volunteers. Shuttle transportation. Advertising. We have the awards. We have a banquet. We have tracks set up. We have driver kits and stuff we need for every individual. But most importantly, we can't forget it's the registration for the drivers. A lot of work goes in behind the scenes to make that happen. Without the drivers competing, we have nothing. So and I've only touched on. There's so much more. I can sure you're thinking there's a lot more that I've missed, and I'm just kind of giving you a bit of an idea of what it takes. Many hours of volunteer time goes into this. To make this event successful. And I can speak for myself why I volunteer at the event. But for me, the transportation industry has been very good to me. It's given me the opportunity to make a good wage to be able to raise a family. And anybody that knows me or that's close to me, they know that family comes first. Family is where it is. And, having said that, I like to give back to the industry because it's been good to me, and volunteering helps me do that. But how this ties into the PTDC is that this event is for drivers, but it's also for their families. The drivers, they come out, and I never really thought about this when I first started volunteering, but I got to see it as I volunteered. You get to watch the people that come watch the competitors, whether it's a spouse, their children, their parents, and even grandparents. They come out and they watch the whole event take place. And, it's nice to see the camaraderie, as the guys talked about. Don and Matt talked about the camaraderie between the individuals. But for me, the family aspect of it is a special moment to watch everybody come. And there's people that'll sit in the benches all day to watch their competitor. If they happen to be one of the last people, they spend a lot of time there to watch that. So, shows the importance, of the event, and how, they want to watch their loved ones showcase their abilities that they use every day, to earn their living. We have different categories, and we talked about winning grand champion and all of that. But at the end of the day, for me, it's bringing people together and bringing families together. And sometimes truck drivers don't always get the recognition that they deserve. And this event showcases the importance of truck drivers. And I love to do that in front of their families, because that means a lot to the drivers. Watching the drivers get in and out of the trucks and, with their families around, it's just a special moment for me. So at the end of the day, it's not who wins. Bringing people together with their families, that's the win for me.
Yeah, you touched on a few things there, Don, that I completely agree with. Being able to sit there and watch, the grandkids get super excited because grandpa's getting in the truck, or the wife actually understanding what the husband does for the day when backing the load in, or just dealing with those the configurations that they have to do is it's pretty special. And it takes about 80 volunteers Don, you touched on many of the different aspects of what happens behind the scenes, but 80 is a large number. And it is a huge event, and there's tons of work and effort that goes into it, but it's all worth it. Our drivers never get the recognition that they deserve, and it's very cool to have an event that's focused just on them, and the professionalism that's required to be a driver, and the attention to detail, and just the stuff that the general public doesn't get to view from our industry on a regular basis. So I personally, it's one of my favorite events. I've been volunteering here since I started, and really had no idea what to expect the first year either. I just kept on hearing it's this competition, and the drivers get so excited, and they take it so seriously, and they take such pride in being able to do what they do every day. So it's a very good feeling day, whether it's raining or snowing or plus 40 in the concrete. Our volunteers are always there and ready and willing to help support the drivers. So thank you so much for that, Don. Kelsey, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, y'all touched on an important few points there. I am going to start with, for the volunteers, a lot of our volunteers, they're from the same company. So we get a group of you together. It's just a day to spend with your coworkers, do some bonding, chat about work, and help out with a great cause. And then now I want to flip something that Don touched on to you, Matt, and you, Don, at Achtemichuk. What does keep you guys coming back to this year after year?
I would have to say it's like what Don M said, as just giving back to an industry that's been very, very, very good to me. I always like to say, or I always like to think, there in trucking, it's one of those things you never really know what you're gonna do from day to day. You know what you're gonna do, but you don't really know where it's gonna take you. And when you get to the end, it's almost like when you've been treated so well, it's time to give back, and that's what keeps me coming back.
Awesome. And Don?
Similar to what the fellows were saying, the industry's been very good to me, to my family and what I have, and I love the engagement. This is, to me, the truck driving championships for the AMTA. It's a premier event, but also I get such a rush out of organizing 80 volunteers, and some of them are new, some of them don't have a clue, and between the volunteers and we've been running with 50 competitors, but we've had up to 100, and it's just so neat to know that we have a window that we're starting at 8, and I'm driven by this stuff. I mean, I thrive on the pressure of we got to get this all done, because at 4:30, 5 o'clock, we got to pack up, because one of the staff from the AMTA is drumming their fingers on the table because it's time to go, because we got to get to the banquet.
She's not in this room, but you know who you are.
That's it, absolutely. And it's stuff like that. And I mean, it's such a rush, but it's what a release when you pull it off. And I mean, year after year, and again, the 15 years I've been a part of it, I've been blessed with being able to, help to lead it alongside the others. And it's nothing like it.
And I mean, AMTA's name is on the name of the event, but Don, you had mentioned like the Joe Kuipers and the Chris Plants of the worlds, and the two Dons here today, and Matt, this will be my 6th rodeo. Just the knowledge that you guys have passed down to help the association itself to pull off such a successful event is incredible. So we couldn't do it without you guys. So we're glad that you keep coming back just to glean more of that knowledge each and every year. So I want to thank you all for being here today. We could definitely talk about this all day, but we have to wind down at some point. I just want to touch on, in celebrating our 75 years, to take a quick moment for an homage. The grand champion that we've mentioned today, that award is named for a lady named Ann Taylor. Ann was the wife of Jack Taylor, who was integral to AMTA getting off the ground back in 1938. So shout out to the Taylor family on that one. And then, as well as our team and individual awards, and we've touched on this as well, we do celebrate a new driver, and that rookie award is named for a fella named Fred Dettles. Fred was a regular winner of the event from the late 50s and into the 60s. So I think it's important in these 75 years that we look to the past and the people who brought us here today. So let's wind this down. Matt, is there anything that you would like to add? You can say no.
No, I kind of got excited in that last little bit, and I just sort of spoke out of turn, I guess.
And Mr. Achtemichuk.
I have so much pride to be part of what we do. That just sums it up.
Awesome. And we are proud that you remain with us as well. Mr. MacDonald, anything you'd like to add?
Well, May 31st is going to be upon us before we know it, for sure. I hope the weather is great. With all that goes into this, we'll be there on the 29th because we'll be getting ready for track setup. We'll spend 3 days at this event, which is a rush in itself to get to hang out with Don and Matt and all the rest of the volunteers that are going to be around. It's quite the rush, as Don said. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking of the Saturday, because he's right. It just, we hit the ground running and we just run with it. So looking forward to it, and I hope we have a great turnout this year for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. And Michelle, anything on your end?
I think the gents did a good job of summing up. It's pride, it's passion, it's safety for our industry. It is just kind of putting everybody together over a few days to celebrate. I think it, like Don mentioned, you get the goosebumps just thinking about it, with the side of stress, just tiny bit of stress. But it's a lot of fun. If you are around Edmonton on May 31st, I strongly encourage you to swing by the AMTA office in Edmonton to check out the event. Kelsey, you touched on the volunteers. I think it's a great team building event if you wanted to get a few staff members together to be outside for the day and celebrate our industry. It's a good opportunity. And then the drivers, they just take so much pride in what they do and how they're able to showcase it. So if you have anybody that would be interested in participating as a driver, get registered. There are limited seats available. There are limited registrations for volunteers as well. We do get a lot of volunteers. So if it is something you're interested in, I strongly encourage you to stay tuned to our e-news and the show notes. I believe we'll have all the details on all of that, Kelsey. And I just look forward to seeing everybody there.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. And you did touch on this. I just want to shout out to the carriers themselves as well. As we know, drivers, they're busy 24/7, and it's awesome that the carriers let them come out and participate, because I think it's so important to showcase the skill set of all these drivers that we do see. And working together with our committee, with the volunteers, it's just like one big happy family. And like you said, Michelle, it's one of our favorite days of the year. So that will wrap us up for today. Matt, Don, other Don, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I think it's really important that we kind of give some of the backstory on this event and the importance of attending and participating. Let's break down some quick AMTA news, my friends. Registration for the Professional Truck Driving Championships taking place May 31st in Edmonton for both competitors and volunteers. You're going to get lunch, you're going to get dinner, you're going to get some music and some dancing. It's a really great day. It opens March 17th and it does close May 23rd, just so we can make sure that we have everything organized for you. So be sure to check out amta.ca and our socials for details on those coming in just a little while here. As we publish this, it will be 3 days to registration opening, just to keep in mind. For our annual conference, our trade show is sold out, but registrations and some sponsorships remain. That is taking place April 8th to 10th at the River Cree Resort and Casino. Details will be in the show notes and amta.ca. And finally, if you haven't heard of it yet and have a driver who has gone above and beyond, be sure to nominate them for AMTA's new initiative, Angels of the Highway. Do you have any questions or comments about the Steering Change episodes? Reach out on Instagram at AMTA_CA or LinkedIn and Facebook at Alberta Motor Transport Association. Stay safe and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of AMTA's Steering Change podcast. The views expressed by guests of the Steering Change podcast are their own and may not reflect the views of AMTA, its hosts, or sponsors. Did you have a question that you would like answered on an upcoming episode of the Steering Change podcast? We want to hear from you. To submit a question to the Steering Change mailbag, hit up our DMs on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram with the hashtag Steering Change, and your question will be answered either live on the podcast or by one of our SMEs here at AMTA. We ask that you share this episode with those in your network that could benefit from what we discussed today, and make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform so you can be notified when future episodes are released. You can learn more about us and our mission by visiting www.amta.ca. Now get out there and have a safe day.